If a police officer tells you to unlock your car door, there's one simple phrase that could completely change the conversation. The question is not whether the phrase is magical. Imagine you're sitting inside your car during a traffic stop. The officer walks up to your window and says, "Unlock your door." Most drivers would do it immediately. But here's the question, are you actually required to?
Why? I haven't done anything wrong. I have the authority to search, not without a warrant.
A locked car door seems like a simple thing. Most people don't think much about it. You get inside, start the engine, and drive away. The lock is just another button among dozens of others scattered across the dashboard. But on a quiet evening in Texas, one driver's decision to keep that door locked transformed an ordinary traffic stop into a conversation about constitutional rights, police authority, and a question that millions of Americans have asked at one point or another. What exactly are you required to do when an officer tells you to unlock your door? The incident began just after sunset on a stretch of roadway outside Fort Worth. Traffic was light, the heat of the day was fading, most drivers were heading home. 31-year-old Ryan Keller was among them. Keller worked as a network technician and had spent the day servicing equipment at several office buildings throughout the city. By all accounts, it had been an uneventful day. That changed when flashing red and blue lights appeared in his rearview mirror. Keller signaled and pulled onto the shoulder. The stop appeared routine. A marked patrol vehicle stopped behind him. The officer approached cautiously. Body camera footage would later show a calm interaction during the opening moments. The officer informed Keller that one of his brake lights appeared to be malfunctioning. Keller acknowledged the explanation. Then something unusual happened. Rather than rolling his window all the way down, he lowered it only a few inches. The officer requested a driver's license and proof of insurance. Keller provided both through the partially opened window. The exchange remained professional. No one raised their voice. No one appeared angry. Yet a subtle tension was beginning to develop. The officer glanced toward the vehicle's interior. Then he asked Keller to unlock the driver's side door. The request immediately changed the nature of the encounter. Keller paused. For several seconds, neither man spoke. Then Keller asked a simple question. Am I legally required to do that? The question matters because many Americans assume police can automatically enter a vehicle whenever they choose. The reality is more complicated.
During a lawful traffic stop, officers possess significant authority. They can temporarily detain occupants, request identification, and investigate suspected violations. At the same time, constitutional protections do not disappear simply because emergency lights are activated. The Fourth Amendment, which protects against unreasonable searches and seizures, continues to apply. That doesn't mean every police request is unlawful. It means the legal justification for certain actions can become important. The officer repeated the instruction. Unlock the door. Keller remained calm. Instead of arguing, he asked another question. Is there a specific legal reason you need the door unlocked? The exchange might seem minor, but legal encounters often turn on small details. A request can become an order. An order can raise questions, and questions sometimes reveal important constitutional issues. The officer explained that he preferred traffic stops to be conducted with the driver's door unlocked for safety reasons. Keller listened carefully. Then he responded with a phrase that would later attract considerable attention. I don't consent to any searches, but I'll comply with lawful orders. The statement did two things simultaneously. First, it communicated cooperation. Second, it preserved a clear objection to any search he believed lacked legal justification. Many attorneys encourage clients to understand the difference between resisting an officer and clearly stating a lack of consent. The distinction can become important later if a court reviews an encounter. The officer considered the response. Then he repeated the instruction again. This time his tone was firmer. The door needed to be unlocked. At that moment, viewers watching the footage later found themselves asking the same question. Could the officer legally require it? Or was Keller entitled to keep the door locked?
The answer depended on facts that had not yet fully emerged. Traffic stops are unusual encounters under American law.
When consent is refused, investigators typically need another legal basis. That refusal did not end the encounter. Instead, it seemed to increase the officer's interest. He asked Keller to step out of the vehicle. Unlike the search request, this instruction rested on stronger legal footing. The United States Supreme Court has recognized that officers conducting lawful traffic stops may generally order drivers to exit their vehicles. Keller complied. The moment the driver's door opened, a new issue emerged. The officer claimed he detected the odor of marijuana. That statement immediately changed the legal landscape. Whether the odor was actually present would later become a point of disagreement. But if an officer genuinely believes there is evidence of criminal activity, that belief can affect what actions become legally permissible. Suddenly, the encounter was no longer centered on a brake light. It was
Could an officer rely on observations made during the stop to justify additional investigative actions? And if so, where exactly was the line? Eventually, a search took place. The legal justification rested not on Keller's consent, but on the officer's claim regarding the odor he detected. Nothing illegal was found. No drugs, no weapons, no contraband. The search produced nothing connected to criminal activity. The original brake light issue remained the only confirmed violation. Several weeks later, legal commentators began discussing the footage online. The debate was not especially surprising. Some viewers believed Keller should have simply unlocked the door immediately and avoided prolonging the encounter. Others argued that questioning government authority is a fundamental constitutional right. Many focused on the phrase that Keller used during the stop. "I don't consent to any searches, but I'll comply with lawful orders." The statement attracted attention because it attempted to balance two competing interests: cooperation and constitutional protection. Neither concept automatically cancels the other. Citizens may preserve legal objections while still complying with lawful instructions. That reality often surprises people. Constitutional rights are not necessarily exercised through confrontation. Sometimes they are exercised through calm, precise communication.
Officers face genuine safety concerns. Every stop involves uncertainty. They often have no idea who is inside the vehicle or what risks may exist. Courts have repeatedly recognized that traffic stops can be dangerous for law enforcement. Because of that reality, officers are granted certain powers designed to maintain control of the scene. But those powers are not unlimited. They generally must remain connected to legitimate law enforcement objectives. That balance sits at the heart of many constitutional disputes. Back on the roadside, the conversation continued. The officer asked whether there were any weapons inside the vehicle. Keller answered no. The officer asked whether there was anything illegal inside. Again, Keller answered no. Then came another request. Could he search the vehicle? The encounter also highlighted another important point. There is often a difference between what an officer requests, what an officer prefers, and what the law ultimately requires. Understanding that difference can matter, not because every encounter turns into a legal dispute, most do not, but because constitutional protections are often tested in ordinary moments rather than extraordinary ones. A broken brake light, a partially opened window, a locked car door. The events themselves may seem small, yet they can raise questions reaching far beyond a single roadside stop. In the end, the most memorable part of the encounter was not the search, it was not the brake light, and it was not the locked door itself. It was the conversation. A conversation about authority, compliance.
Knowing your rights is important, but every traffic stop is different. Stay calm, be respectful if we're violated, speak with a qualified attorney after Nerd. What would you do in this situation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments and follow for more real-world legal stories that explain how U.S. law works.